Bueno, pues buenos días. Un par de indicaciones antes de que iniciemos esta charla. Primero, pues, darles la bienvenida en nombre del equipo del GGBC. Mi nombre es José Manuel Ávila. Para quienes no me conocen, no hemos tenido la oportunidad de toparnos en algún evento o algo así, pues soy el director técnico del Guatemala Green Building Council. Y bueno, pues las indicaciones, esta conferencia, pues tenemos una invitada internacional, entonces ella va a estar dando la charla en inglés. Ahí les pegué en el área del chat un link para que ustedes puedan ingresar a la interpretación si es necesario. Muy importante, el chat hace parte de chat en la pestaña de sesiones para que las preguntas o dudas que tengan pues también las podamos ir viendo ahí. Si no, pues se van a quedar dentro del chat general del evento. Entonces eso pues importante. Bueno, y iniciar pues el día número 1 en el track de materiales. Pues primero que nada darle el agradecimiento a todos los patrocinadores y las alianzas por hacer posible este evento, hoy pues de forma virtual. Un agradecimiento especial a Esta por patrocinar y hacernos el contacto con esta invitada de gran trascendencia. El título pues de este track es Grandes Espacios, Bajos Impactos. Vamos a ver pues cómo a través del espacio interior pues también se pueden reducir y potenciar todos los impactos ambientales que se generan y los impactos a la salud humana, cómo mitigarlos también. Y bueno, la invitada de hoy pues es Ramie Vagal. Ella es arquitecta por el Sir J.J. College of Architecture en Mumbai y tiene una maestría por el Instituto de Tecnología de Illinois en Chicago, una sólida formación en sostenibilidad y arquitectura. Dentro de su experiencia profesional ha liderado una amplia gama de proyectos como la planificación e implementación de estrategias de sostenibilidad corporativa, informes de RCE, certificaciones para edificios sostenibles, certificación para productos Living Product Challenge, así como iniciativas de transparencia de productos, proyectos de impacto social e iniciativas de salud y bienestar. Ella es la Senior Sustainability Manager de Grupo Mohoawk. En Mohoawk ella lidera iniciativas estratégicas de sostenibilidad para crear impactos positivos a nivel social, cultural, económico y ambiental. Es embajadora del Living Building Challenge y actualmente es miembro del grupo asesor técnico de materiales y recursos del LEED. So, welcome Ramie, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. We know you work hard to change and promote how to reduce the impact that indoor spaces and materials and products have for the environment and the human health. So the microphone is yours, and we thank you so much so that you can be here with us.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about building products, built environment, and impact on the occupants' physical and mental health. So as introduced, thank you for that good introduction. It was very kind of you. I am a senior manager of sustainability at Mohoawk Group. And today I will be sharing with you like what does overall well-being means and the multiple factors that are associated with it. Also identifying relationships of the impact of built environment on health and well-being, and understand why material transparency is important, and understand overall products impact in the indoor air quality. So wellness essentially is just more than about being physical health. Most models of wellness include at least 6 dimensions. Physical is one of them, which is like you can achieve that by exercise and like eating right and all of that. But then there's also mental health, which is like how do you engage with the world through learning, problem solving, creativity, etc. There's emotional health, which is being in touch, being aware, and able to express one's feelings. The spiritual, which is like our search for meaning and purpose in human existence. Then there is environmental, which is the physical environment, which is free of chemicals of concerns, free of hazards, and awareness of the role that we play in bettering rather than degrading the natural environment. There's social, which is based on like how we interact and adapt to our surroundings. The wellness continuum, one way to understand wellness is to consider health as a continuum that extends from illness to a state of optimum well-being. On one end, patients with poor health engage the medical paradigm to treat illnesses. They interact reactively and episodically with doctors and technicians who provide care. On the opposite end, people focus proactively and maximize their vitality. They adapt attitudes and lifestyles that prevent disease, improve health, and enhance their quality of life and sense of well being. So, wellness is proactive, preventive, and driven by self responsibility. Growth of wellness is an extension of this consumer value and worldview. I would like to share a couple of unique global trends that have been observed over the past year or so, especially on mental health and focus on like circadian rhythm and focusing on like achieving better sleeping qualities through the built environment as well as like overall mental wellness. And especially in this post COVID-19 world, we will be seeing a lot of focus on enhancing mental health as well. Now, the factors that contribute to like overall health are not just limited to genetics. Genetics are only really about 10% of the state of our health. But majority of what depends on our health is directly based on physical and social environments where we live, work, and play. That also means both built environment as well as people's living conditions and lifestyles. Whether we smoke and what we eat have a significant impact on many of our health related behaviors. These factors strongly affect like individuals' overall quality of health, and therefore, like architects, designers, facility managers have the ability to greatly improve public health outcomes. And by addressing these social determinants of health, we can design spaces that promote health equity. So, additionally, built environment has profound impact on our overall health and wellness. It can shape your daily habits and activities and drive you towards like a healthier drive you towards like health through quality of your choices that you make. This is particularly important, especially since we spend 90% of our time indoors. There is a deep relationship between like a connection between like physical well-being and like relationships. So for our overall physical well-being, the relationships in our lives have a potential to have such a large impact. You may ask, like, what is the connection between relationships and physical space? The physical space that we inhabit have a certain energy, vibe that has an effect on our mood and how we feel in that space. And based on our mood, vibe, and overall energy, we project impacts that people around us and our relationships like have. And eventually, if we're not happy or balanced in those relationships, then that will like impact our overall mental and physical well-being. The energy of a physical space is like essentially the character of that space, and that is influenced by so many different like elements such as color, light, texture, materials, etc. Increased ventilation also, as well as like increased acoustics, is one of the like elements as well. Increased ventilation, so occupants have significantly improved cognitive function scores when working in well ventilated spaces compared to working in conventional environment. And we have been ignoring the 90% of our time that we spend indoors, and then also the impact of ventilation, the good ventilation can have, as well as acoustics. Like there have been studies that have proven that poor noise quality can actually like impact the productivity of the workers in the offices. So those are like two elements that can truly impact like the quality of the space. Buildings are places that where we spend so much time, so they should be actually like healing and helping us like enhance our health and optimum well-being, as well as like towards the environment through the choices of products that we select to put into these buildings. I wanted to specifically highlight like a research that is done by Joseph Allen, who is who has that who is a professor at Harvard, amongst many other like accomplishments that he has done. He's published several researches, and one of the key research that he has published is like returning to workplaces and what like basic 9 fundamentals people should be at least focusing on in order to return to like workplaces safely. So, ventilation, air quality, thermal health, moisture, dust and pests, safety, security, water quality, noise, lighting, and views. These are some of the basic elements that we should be focusing on in our efforts to return to workplaces safely. Um, so that brings us to our next topic, which is materials. Materials form an integral part of like components of the building. Materials, basically like low hazard cleaning products, the use of effective cleaning equipment, design and furnishing guidelines, as well as like products that we select that have zero to low VOCs, as well as do not have chemicals of concern. And that can be obtained when manufacturers are very transparent in their efforts. So to make a well-informed decision, it is really important for like designers and specifiers to request this information from manufacturers and focus on like choosing products that are positive and give back more to the environment than they take. I'm going to talk about Living Product Challenge, which is essentially a green product certification program that was developed by the International Living Future Institute. It is essentially a framework for manufacturers to reimagine design and construction, and anything that is under the living product umbrella which is certified, it is free of chemicals of concern. It is also like developed by keeping in mind like biomimicry and biophilia, and then it has positive benefits towards the environment and the communities. So the Living Product Challenge is essentially formed across like a segment of like different petals or categories, and you can see that so many different topics are covered under this certification, and manufacturers have to like meet certain requirements under each of those petals to actually achieve this certification. We'll focus a little bit more on the red list and carbon positive and water positive for this part of this presentation, and like kind of walk through like some of the things that can be done to achieve those. This is a label what manufacturers get when they have achieved this certification. And you can see from the label how comprehensive it is. It talks about like where the product was manufactured, what is the net positive carbon impact, energy impact, water, as well as like the chemical composition makeup of the product as well. And it's represented in a very clear manner. Now, I want to highlight efforts of Mohoawk in a short span of this presentation. That what are some of the key elements that we have focused in order to position us as sustainable brand partner. So the first one is net positive products. As I mentioned, so what that means is that in the areas of carbon and water, we actually, like for carbon, we offset more than the emissions of the product itself in order to achieve net positive. In terms of water, through different projects and initiatives we have done, we save more gallons than what is required to manufacture that product. With human health, we strive to become like red list free and avoid chemicals of concern. And then the other important piece is like the people. So ensuring the health and well-being of the people who make these products as well as the people who are going to use these products. Net positive products essentially means that these corputiles that we manufacture, as well as a couple of our nylon, woven nylon rugs and one of our enhanced resilient tiles, they are 105% carbon and water positive. And there's so many different collection styles that are available across these products to choose from. So that is one area that we really focus on. The other is like human health. So across the different products that we manufacture, there's so many different like product types that are available that are red list free, which means it is free of the chemicals of concern. And red list essentially is a list of chemicals that are outlined by the International Living Future Institute. And they have done studies of different chemicals lists that are available in the marketplace across European Union's REACH and other programs. And through that, they have developed a list of 28 chemicals that's associated with over like 800 different like chemical compositions, and they ensure that these products are like free of red list chemicals as well. The last part that I want to talk about is like people positive. So through different strategic partnerships, like with Susan G. Komen, with Groundswell, International Living Future Institute, US Green Building Council, we definitely ensure that we reach out to the communities, do projects that give back through social partnerships, and do our role in the society and take the message of like advancing environmental health as well as climate as well as human health through the different social partnerships that we do. We also like focus on investing in our people as well in terms of like providing healthy life centers as well as green and healthy building certifications for our like own facilities as well. Through the next part of the presentation, which is the last part, I do want to touch a little bit on like green building and healthy building and how they complement each other. And by that, I mean that the environmental and human health is not really separate. They're all interlinked, and through the different certification program like LEED and Living Building Challenge and WELL, they really strive to achieve like balance of like how can spaces be designed which are efficient as well as like enhance like employee productivity and quality of like overall like space as well. There are synergies that can be drawn across like through biophilia, indoor air quality, the choice of materials, acoustic lighting that have been addressed in all of these different programs. And project teams like undergoing this should not feel like that it is a burden. It is actually like a more integrated approach to like designing spaces that are good for the environment and the community. The top 3 areas of impact, like in addition to environmental benefits such as greenhouse gas reduction, energy improvements, they also do like support like financial ROI as well as like the people ROI, which is like enhancing occupant well-being, satisfaction, and productivity. Research have proven that employees actually like working in spaces and are more comfortable being in the office, as well as like they feel satisfaction and engagement if these kind of like investments are made within spaces. So additionally, like I think like one should not focus on like single aspect, which is environmental, or single aspect, which is like health. They should focus from a comprehensive standpoint. And I think with that, we come towards the end of the presentation and we could like open up for Q&A.
Buenos días. No sé si hay alguna pregunta, pero recuerden que pueden ir dejando sus preguntas en el chat, en la parte de sesión, para que podamos contestar sus dudas. Ramie, I have some questions that I would like to make. I have two. Sometimes their quality seems to be unnotables. We know that it's important through data that is essential for comfort and also for productivity. So my question is, here in Guatemala, I think we have a transition market where when people are starting to realize how important, and as you mentioned, well, COVID-20, it was a game changer basically for these topics. So how do you convince your clients? I mean, which data do you use? Because that's a question that people always ask us. How do I convince my clients? So I don't know, what experience can you share us about that?
So from a product manufacturer standpoint, like we undergo a lot of third-party certifications, and that's the data that we could provide for our products. In the US, like the Declare Label, CRI Green Label Plus, these are very recognized like third-party certifications. So they're widely like known and accepted. So that's the data that we provide, which is third-party verified. In case of like building testings and stuff, I think like you have to look at like what your countries as well as region standards are and what the local codes also like request that information for. In terms of convincing to clients, so we are a product manufacturer. So we like the project teams and architects are the ones who are convincing the client. Like we're supplying the products that meet those criteria, and we verify through the third-party verification that our products do meet those criteria. But as far as like convincing the client, that's really on the architect and designers. That's not something that we do.
Thank you, Ramie. I have Nuria Whitman. She say, Ramie, thank you for your interesting presentation. Do you know of any case of study regarding the measurement of indoor air quality by building type, indicating monetary values, productivity values?
Yes. So actually, if you like log into wellcertified.com and look into Well Building Standard, WELL, Well Building Standard, that website and the program has great information to support like what claims they're making. And I can type that in the chat box. So they can look into the program, which have numerous case studies that show like the productivity data and conducted by like Harvard as well as like third-party organizations. There's multiple of those studies that have been done that actually show the productivity and like how it has improved in space after like incorporating the indoor air quality and other measures for sure. So there's multiple studies, and from that website as well as like the International Well Building Institute, that is a great resource to find some of this information.
Thank you, Ramie. Another question. The market it's evolving. I don't know how how kind of experience you have on Latin American market, but from your perspective, how do you see the new consumers? Are they more conscious about this sort of products and these labels
Yes.
specifically? How do you see the market in general?
I think products that at least avoid chemicals of concern or at least like are free of chemicals of concern is going to become more and more relevant, especially in the post-COVID world. And so people will naturally like gravitate towards choosing products that have like positive environmental, and they're not going to ignore the environment because they're choosing a product for health. Like they're going to try to look at both of those elements. So they'll definitely like focus on that for sure. That's what we see that will happen.
Thank you, Rami. Si no hubiera alguna otra pregunta, pues agradecemos mucho, Rami. We thank you so much, Rami. I thank you on behalf of all the GGBC staff and GGBC board. It was nice having you here with us. These topics are really, really important, especially now, as we all say. This post-COVID era, I think it's going to be different in a lot of ways. So, thank you, Rami.
Thank you.
Y agradezco a todos por su participación. Entonces, a la hora del siguiente track, para quienes quieran quedarse en materiales y recursos, pues ahí los voy a estar acompañando nuevamente. Y cualquier duda, pues estamos a la orden.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rami.
Thank you. It was great, like presenting to a different audience. Thank you for the opportunity.